drum roll please, the truth about managing people.
What a topic. I tell you, management is such a complex word because it's definitely not easy, and people find the hard way, right?
Welcome to the SAID Leadership Academy podcast powered by CreateINterest. This podcast is for those people really looking to sharpen those leadership, coaching, management skills, or maybe looking for best practices, motivation, or simply looking for solutions, opportunities for those hard to move obstacles. So, if there's someone out there looking for that one little nugget, that one little idea, that one inspiration, or maybe even just want to be reminded of something they already knew, this is for you. I am Scott Krieger, your host, moderator of sorts, and with me, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend,
Lord.
my mentor, Moises Solis.
Well, thank you, Scott. Man,
let me tell you a little bit about you before we get forward.
All right.
Before we move forward, Moises is the founder and CEO of CreateINterest. He has served as the chairman of the board of Empresarios Latinos of Houston and mentored at the Wolf Center of Entrepreneurship at the University of Houston. Moises is the author of innovative books, including the SAID Operational Model, Getting on Board with the SAID Model, Putting the SAID Model to Work, and Front and Upward Thinking. With over 23 years of experience in sales learning and development and management, Moises is a seasoned career coach and more than a skilled trainer, the best trainer and talent development person that I've ever seen. Moises' training and coaching benefits individuals, groups, and businesses, making him a sought-after specialist, productivity coach, and more than anything, an inspirational speaker.
Wow, man.
So if there was more people in the room, we'd all give you a standing ovation.
Well, thank you. Wow, man, that's enough. Makes me humble. Thank you. A lot of accomplishments, right? But at the end of the day, everything I say, it's only matters when it's at the moment of truth.
Yep.
You know me.
Speaking of the truth, Today's topic, for those of you out there that are new to the podcast, we pick a core topic, right? We pick a core topic that we want to review and talk about. Obviously, where it goes, nobody knows, but that core topic today is, drum roll please, the truth about managing people.
What a topic.
So by the end of the podcast, everybody will understand that managing people isn't easy, right?
Right.
It gets even harder. And if you don't have the right plan and processes in place, and more than anything, those right people and the right seats on the bus, it's going to be tough.
Yep, definitely. I tell you, it's the truth about managing people. It's a topic that most people, I don't know that they think about, because most people get there, and once they get there, they find out that it's not easy.
Right.
Now, if it's easy, then there might be a problem too.
Yep.
If it's that easy.
What do you think? What do you think is the most? We'll start here. Like, what do you think is the most challenging part of managing people? And maybe there's more than one.
Well, it's people, obviously, right? Managing people, it's managing people, and that's where it gets hard. The thing about managing people is that it's all behavioral based. Think about that. It's behavioral based, right? Because even though I'm trying to have them press a button, as their turn is, it's really behavior. And thus, how do I keep them pressing that button? Not just because they need to press it, but because they have to be content. They have to see the outcome. They have to know the why, right? They have to be have a sense of belonging. There's a lot of things that go into them pressing the button.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they get that management role and they vent about it, or they complain about it, or they go home and they bang their head against the wall, they think, gosh, I'm babysitting adults.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. I'm babysitting adults. And it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
So much more.
Well, and you have to accept it, because it's reality. Reality is that you are babysitting adults, right? But the reason they become babies is because they're not sure where they stand. They're not sure where they are. Well, they're not sure what their value is, right? So they behave like kids only because they really feel or lack a sense of belonging in many ways.
Yep.
Right.
So what do you think let's say the top three challenges of managing people are? What do you think?
Well, the one thing for sure, the most challenging is the outcome, right? It's how do I reach the right outcome when I'm managing people. So that is the most challenging, because at the end of the day, a manager manages a process, and that process has to hit timely, right, and accurately to whatever the outcome is. So that's the most challenging. How do I reach that final outcome? The second is getting the right people, I'm going to say the right people on the bus, right? That's the most challenging as well, because then you got to find the right key personnel, right, to do the task. And sometimes we don't think about it, and by the time we think about it, it's too late, because we got the wrong people on the bus, sitting in the wrong seat of the bus. And that's the second one. The third is probably just the ongoing commitment, because the process may be a long process, and people get fatigued, get tired. So how do I motivate them? How do I keep them on track to reach that end result?
Right, and there's a difference between commitment and compliance.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Compliance meaning, oh, I got to do it because this is my job. It's in the job title. I have to do this.
Yeah, that's the kid.
Whereas in commitment, they're waking up excited about doing it. They're excited about being part of the team. They're doing it before even being asked in some cases. They're committed to not just the action, but where it's going to get the team, where it's going to get the results, where it's going to get to where they want to be.
Getting to that point is not easy. And that's the point. That's the truth about managing people, is that it's not easy to get there, because there's a lot of variables that go in place for that individual to feel with a sense of belonging, right? They're in on things, that they're being challenged and willing to do it, right? And then they're celebrating their own successes. To get there, my goodness.
So
it took a lot of work.
Think of, like, if you're hiring, if you're looking for somebody to be a manager, or if you're somebody thinking about management. What are the core competencies? What are the skills that you must possess if you're thinking about going that route?
Well, for sure, the one thing that comes to mind is you got to have great communication skills, right? But communication skills only serve with a purpose, and the purpose is to identify where we're going. So a manager will say, okay, what is the process, right? And what are the key non-negotiables? And we'll talk about non-negotiables probably later.
My favorite word.
Yeah. What are the key non-negotiables? And once we establish where we're heading, what are the key non-negotiables, then how do you keep it on the right side? Where once they start doing what they need to do, how do I then keep them motivated? Right? Knowing that the standard is the non-negotiable. Right? How do you get there? What's communication skills? Right? And really identifying what the destination is. It's a lot of things that go into that, but nevertheless, at the end of the day, a manager, and this is why we do this, because I wish I would have had this type of podcast when I was growing up into this business, right? Because at the end of the day, I discovered it when I was literally in the middle of the weeds. They call it as a waiter, right? You're in the middle of the weeds, right? And you don't know how to get out of it. By that time, you're literally accountable. If you're a manager, now you're accountable. It's not going to take long for you to get fired.
So communication skills, meaning the first one. So you must be able to communicate. What else?
Yeah, and use the tools to communicate, right? The tools could be, and the tools means I don't mean the microphone. I don't mean the telephone. What I do mean is there's ways to do it, right? Having a one-on-one, having a huddle meeting, having a general meeting, right? Whatever that is, and the way I'm going to communicate is the key.
Yeah, I think people get into a management role and they're like, all right, now what?
Yeah, exactly.
Some cases they don't have those tools.
Yeah.
They don't know how to use those tools. They don't know when to use those tools.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is, for me, I know getting into a management role was banging my head against the wall saying, oh my gosh, why don't people just do what they're supposed to do? And I could easily, as a manager, become a doer and just do it for them, or then what? Then what do you do? Why don't they do what they're supposed to do? And you and I both talk about this every day with our own customers. Is they don't know why why they should do it.
Right.
They don't know how to do it. They don't know what to do. They don't know when to do it.
Right.
And then I think our two favorite and mine are no positive consequence for doing it. Meaning they're not giving recognition, or our term, which is
vitamin R.
Vitamin R. They don't get enough vitamin R.
Right. As they go along.
For doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And above all, and this is the most challenging part that I'm sure we'll go over on other podcasts, is there's no negative consequences for not doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
People think that they should do their job because that's what I pay you to do.
Yeah. And I say, consequences come in both ways. They're not just negative, right? Consequences for doing wrong, yeah, there's negative consequences to that, right? But also there's consequence for doing it right.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the vitamin R piece. And sometimes managers tend to just go to the wrong side and say, hey, you didn't do this right, and all their time is devoted to punishment.
How many times have we heard somebody say, well, Moises, hold on. Why am I giving them positive consequence for doing their job?
Exactly. Oh, that is so. Yeah.
I pay them to do that.
Yeah. That's a huge mistake, and I believe that when I hear that, it only tells me that manager is not mature enough in its role to understand what we're saying.
So my favorite word, we talk about this. You said their role, right?
Yep.
So we talk a lot about what?
Roles and responsibilities.
Roles and responsibilities. What's the difference between a role and to tell our listeners where this came from?
Yeah.
There is a speaker, I don't have his name, that wrote a book and did a presentation to a management group of my wife's company.
Yeah.
And just spent a whole hour, an inspirational speaker, talking about a leader's role and responsibility. And she came back and it blew her mind.
Yeah.
And I called you up and I said, dude, she had the speaker.
Yeah.
And this is all they talked about. And it was her favorite. It was an entire day of training, but her favorite part was that speaker that talked about role and responsibilities.
Yeah.
So tell me more about roles and
Well,
responsibilities.
we were, in essence, doing it, right? But when we decided, hey, let's just focus on really asking the people we manage and the people that come to our seminars and the people we coach and so forth. But when we started asking that question, what is your role? It's interesting that most people would tell you a responsibility.
Yep.
It's never the role.
Hire people.
That's right. And
right.
It didn't happen at the bottom. It also happened at the top when we say, hey, what is your role and responsibility? Tell me about your role. And those leaders that we thought had it would just spit out a responsibility. So to be clear, right, we know what the responsibilities are, right? We know a manager says, my responsibility is to schedule, to come in first, to responsibility to hire, to interview, to open the door, close the door, whatever those responsibilities are. There's tasks, right? But what is that role? And that's where they get stuck. So what is the role? What is the role? What do you think it is?
Yeah, they always stumble, and I think they don't realize the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
They think in that moment or that day or that time, but they're maybe not forward thinking enough.
Yeah, yeah, and simply the role stands as it's your presence in that moment, right? Your role is that presence of, hey, I got you, I got this place. I'm the one that is accountable, to this, right? So. And the role comes in the way they look, talk, think, and act.
Yep.
Think about that. And so their role comes in the way they talk, think.
Yeah, we talk about that meaning leadership presence.
That is correct.
Management, leadership presence. And it's how you look, talk, think, and act that influence others to not just do a job, but be committed to playing their part. Not comply, but commit to that team.
And it's that commitment that shows, right? So the role, when you look at someone, you know who's committed, and that's their role. Their role is really what they're doing at that moment, right? A manager plays a big role because they're truly the presence of that business. Or
where do you think managers fail to understand? Because I have my own idea on this, and I think you can speak to this, is managers fail sometimes to tie everything to a goal. Would you believe in that? Like there's a goal that we must accomplish. The second part of that is if they communicate that goal, they're just talking about the team's goal and not making it about that individual, right?
Yeah.
So making, hey, this is what's in it for you if you do this, right? And that's sometimes that they have a hard time with managing people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's because they focus on that end result without understanding that it's all behavioral based. So in other words, unless I'm working in a taco truck by myself, right? But if I have to manage people, yes, of course it's about the task and where I'm heading with this, but it's also what the behavior that the people that work for me have in reaching those goals. So it's not about asking them to get that on time, but it's also about doing it willingly, right, on their own terms, right, knowing that there's something for them at the end of that road as well.
So for those managers listening, where do you think, and this question comes up a lot, so those people listening, where should a manager spend most of their time? Because that comes up, right? We've had customers come to us and say, well, this is what I do. This is how I spend my day. When am I going to have time to do blank?
Yeah.
So where do you think their time is best spent?
Well, the truth about managing people is spending time with people, right? It's really a devotion to understanding the people that are making it happen, right? And I always go back to saying, okay, is the manager worried about giving them the right tools? Has the manager motivated them? Has the manager giving them feedback? Has the manager trained them? Has the manager set the expectations? It's all around people, right? And I just referenced the performance wheel because the performance wheel, it all starts with setting expectations, and then you move forward, right? The training, the motivation, giving them feedback, and reaching the point that they know that if they do a good job, what is it in it for them? The manager doesn't really stress that. Most managers don't.
Right.
Like, hey, listen, if we reach that goal, this is what's in it for you.
And you celebrate.
Yep. Right. We celebrate.
Yep. Celebrate wins, whether small, big. And I think some people miss that, is they think celebrating wins is something big and grandiose, and we have to hit a gong, but it might be something small.
Yeah.
Might be a small email.
Yeah, it's the dose of the vitamin R, right? Hey, listen,
R.
when we teach this, we say, hey, you are in control of the dose, right? It could be just a thank you, right? That's a small dose. Or it could be, hey, we're going to go on a cruise.
Yep.
That's a huge dose. Whatever it is, there's always doses. And who's in charge of that? It's really the manager.
That's right.
Right? But who really needs it and in order to thrive and become part of having a sense of belonging is the employee, right? That person needs it because it's all behavioral based. If you don't provide that, that's when we see all this high turnovers, right? People will say, man, I got a high turnover. But when you start asking them, hey, what are the consequences for good or bad job? They don't have that.
You go through the questions. Okay, so tell me the last time you had a one-on-one with that employee.
And
oh gosh, well we were supposed to have one last week, but I canceled it because a meeting came up. Oh, okay. Well, when's the last time you recognized good performance in front of everybody else in your team meeting?
Exactly.
Well, I don't know what that is. Tell me more. Then we follow the question. All right, how did you onboard them when they started with the company? What did that look like? Well, I just had them fill out paperwork, and then they started. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. I put them on the job so that they can start learning. I mean, damn, what?
Yeah. And you said non-negotiables, right?
Yeah.
So I want to jump into non-negotiables before we move forward. But non-negotiables is different from goals or expectations, right?
Yeah.
Goals meaning, hey, this is, if you do this, you're gonna reach this goal. This is our goal. This is what we're going for.
Yeah.
But the non-negotiables are what's expected of you no matter what every single time to get there.
Yeah.
So if it's in sales, it's the number of cold calls. Maybe the number of presentations you make. Maybe it's the behaviors that you demonstrate. It's non-negotiable. And I always explain it with every time you go to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And you say thank you, they say
it's my pleasure. Right?
Every single time. It's not a negotiation, and I love that word, non-negotiables. And it's up to the manager to not wait a month into their job, but immediately say, hey, here's our goal, here's our non-negotiables, this is what's in it for you if we reach that goal, this is what's in it for the team if we reach that goal, and then we celebrate.
Yeah.
But also there's the flip side, which is, hey, if we don't do it, here's the negative consequence path. There is that pathway. You don't want to go that pathway.
That is correct.
But the vitamin R, the recognition for doing it well and being committed to it is what it's all about.
Hey, you are the best at it. I mean, usually you're the one that drives this topic, and definitely you're the best at it. And it all boils down to the moment of truth, right?
Yep.
It's not enough to just talk about it, but really, what are you doing about it, right? And that's where we put the managers or the leaders or the owners into the spot of, okay, and that's really what makes the difference about who we are. Think about that. Because I always say, we're not just going to read the book out to you and make everyone happy and walk out, happy for 3 hours. Then what? Well, the then what should be, okay, are you going to apply it? Let me see you. And we're going to score that, right? Because most people won't get it at the first time. But once you start taking them by the hand, they'll get it the second time.
And another thing that I know we can spend a whole 10 podcasts on this, but having metrics in place to measure whether people are doing what they're supposed to do is so important for managers.
Yeah.
Right? Is there metrics? Are those metrics posted on a wall, or is it an email that goes out once a month on how everybody? Am I ranked against somebody else? Yeah. Are we stack ranked? How did we do yesterday? Yeah. How are we doing compared to this time last year? Yeah. And we need to see that, because then we can indicate, hey guys, those non-negotiables that we're doing, they're working. Yeah. Right? Or if I'm a manager, I can go to that employee and say, hey, look at the score on the wall. Yeah. Because we're doing what we're supposed to do, look how we're doing versus our goal or
and
our
they're great drivers. Listen, if you're a manager, you listen to this, these are the key things that will make you a great manager, right? You got to have a scoreboard. Yep. You got to have a way to reward your employees. You got to have a way to identify talent. You got to have a way to keep them going, right? How are you going to motivate them? What kind of one-on-ones are you having? What kind of huddle meetings? How are you recognizing them in public?
Yeah, right? and a huddle is such a amazing thing to talk about that is missed. And I learned it in my restaurant days. Yeah. Is every single shift managing a restaurant, you have a morning huddle. Yeah. You talk about what the day is going to look like, what the previous day looked like, what the same day looked like last year. You look at everybody's uniform. You review maybe the specials of the day, the drinks. You do a little bit of development, a little bit of training, and a little bit of celebration, a little bit of hoorah. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yeah. And then you go out there and everybody's pumped up. They're jacked. They're in on things. They know what's going on in their restaurant. That was what I learned. And I was so excited that in every other role since then, and what we do today when we train other people is we want to instill those morning huddles in those organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, my biggest example, I was in Atlanta, Georgia, waiting for a flight, and I got there very early, talking about maybe 5:30 in the morning, but I went by the counter of I think it was United, and what am I seeing? Here's a manager that said, "Hey guys, come on up," and then he created a little circle. Yeah. Now this is at the terminal.
I think you sent me a picture of it.
I'm what? And so I got closer, right? And then the manager basically said, "Hey guys, we have a busy day today. Are you guys ready? Right? I need you to be on top of your game because we have a busy day. By the way," and then he said, "By the way, give it to Mary. Mary yesterday knocked out," and whatever he said, right?
And everyone applauded.
And everyone applauded. And hey, so today we have a big day. I need you to be committed, right? Let's have a great day. All right, you guys ready? Any questions? Let's go. It was that quick.
Yeah. I've seen it too firsthand, and it just like goosebumps.
Yeah, what a moment! What a moment, man. So it's and by the way, the moment is.
And how long did that last? Hold on, how long?
It was probably 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, quick.
It was that quick, but it was the moment for everyone, right? Because when they clapped, they were ready. They were truly ready and focused to what's about to come. That's a great manager that inspired their people at that moment.
Right. Yep. I love it. Hey. Hate to stop us while we're so much energy, but we have reached the time in our show for a very important first segment. It is called, and you know this, the Smackdown. Right, this is our Smackdown face-off segment. And if you're new to the podcast, we really just talk about two things, right? This versus that, right? In this case, what we want to briefly discuss is coach versus manager.
Oh.
What's the difference?
Wow. Well, a manager, as we've been saying, right, they manage a process through other people. And then we focused on how behaviors are such a big thing, right? That they manage a process through people. Now, the coach is the one that takes someone from where they are to where they want to be. And that's the whole key, that a manager might say, you guys really want it? Well, here's the process. But the coach says, if you really want it, I need to see it. I need to see the effort.
I think far too often you see people maybe tie team goals to that individual, but what you said was, hey, it's all about what they want. What's in it for that individual?
If they don't want it, man, what are you doing here? Yeah. We all got to want it. It's not the manager that wants it. And that's where management comes in, that it inspires the role and responsibility of that individual when they join the organization. Right?
So managing processes, give me some examples of what processes would you say you manage, right? So for me, I think of what we talked about with the goal board, right? I'm managing that process.
Yeah.
I'm managing the process of assigning job duties.
That is correct.
But with coaching, I'm coaching behaviors in the moment.
Yeah, in the moment.
More often than not.
You coach
I'm
a behavior.
immediately coaching to
Yeah.
make that impact.
Yeah.
I'm giving that feedback. I'm giving that positive recognition. Or maybe I'm altering what they're doing in the moment, and I'm steering a different direction. To be an effective leader, you have to be a coach of behaviors and a manager of processes.
There's a long-standing book, right, that really made a good point, and that is the 1 Minute Manager. But in the title says it. The 1 Minute Manager itself says, the minute it happens, you coach it, right? You don't wait till the next day. You don't wait till the end of the week.
It loses
you
its
coach the
importance.
moment, and you coach it by challenging the individual, right? And starts with feedback, right? Very specific feedback to the behavior, not the person.
Exactly.
You give feedback to the behavior at that moment.
Not the person.
And then you challenge it. You challenge by saying, hey, you really want to be here or not? Do you really want this or not? Because if you do, I need you to do the right thing.
That's right. Now, with that being said, we move on to our next segment. This is a very near and dear to my heart. As you know, I like talking statistics.
Yeah.
The next section or segment is the hard facts.
The hard facts.
So I'm going to read some statistics to you, and you tell me what you think, okay? And this is all tailored to the topic of the day, which is the truth about managing people. Okay.
All right.
The first one is 20% of first-time managers are doing a poor job according to their subordinates. So 20% of first-time managers are doing a poor job according to their subordinates.
Woo. Managers would say, I get blamed for everything.
Right?
I get blamed from everything. But reality is, subordinates tend to react to everything we talked about.
Yeah, poor
communication, right?
Poor
not
recognition.
Exactly. No one cares about me. I'm not in on things,
Yep.
right? So they tend to blame who's in charge? Well, the manager. Yeah. So, and I'm surprised it's that low, to be honest with you.
I thought, wait, I mean, that leads me to the next statistic.
Yeah.
Okay. 40% of first-time managers fail in the first 18 months.
Oh, wow. Hey, that's why we're in business.
Yeah.
Reality is that 40%, and that might, I don't know if that's low or not, to be honest with you. It might be just right. Might be.
I think 40% is about right.
It's about right.
20%, let's see, 20% are doing a poor job according to their subordinates. 40% completely fail.
Yeah, I think
Both numbers could be
here's my
higher in
take.
certain
Here's my take. Organizations make a big mistake by just promoting people into management.
100%.
Right? Because they say, okay, you're a good sales manager. I'm sorry, you're a good salesperson. Now you're going to be a sales manager. What? It's a total different.
You know, I've
story.
been there. I've been in sales. I've done the hunting role.
Yeah.
No doubt. And I've been a part of a great organization, and I've been a part of an organization where it was painfully obvious that the managers and the leaders were promoted because they were great at sales.
Yeah.
And it was, hey, you're great at sales. You did this well. All right, here's the keys to the ship. And I would walk in the door and they wouldn't say hi to me.
Yeah.
They wouldn't I wasn't in on things.
Yeah.
I wasn't part of the bigger picture. We talk about coaching behaviors.
Yeah.
I was simply managed, as a number.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And most people are, by the way, most organizations
so I
are
was
like
compliant.
that. Are like
not
that.
committed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I definitely think, and then I think the second part of that is having any sort of leadership program, right?
Yeah.
Any sort of program that is going to enhance your leadership skills, that is going to give you the tools to be successful, not just successful in your role now, but down the road.
Yeah,
right?
and that's a total different topic, and people that follow us should look out for the leadership program that we have, because reality is it's all leadership, right? When we say management, but there's an element of leadership and coaching in it, right? One thing I wanted to mention is organizations make a big mistakes by just throwing people out there, and I literally hate hearing from people saying, well, that's the way that they're gonna, you have them touch the fire so that they know not to touch the fire. But the problem is that it brings their business down, right? And then they start blaming the manager, and then they throw the manager out, they bring someone new, when in fact it wasn't truly the manager, it was really more the leader in the organization.
Right. Which leads me to the final statistic. 60% of managers say they never received any training when they transitioned into their first leadership role. So 60% of managers in this survey said, I never was told how to lead anybody. I just was promoted.
Yeah.
So there's your proof, right? Is I never received any training. I never received any guidance. There is no program in place. I was just good at my job, and they promoted me because they needed somebody in the spot.
Yeah.
They may not even have been the right person, let alone receive the training, let alone be ready. Maybe they're not even the right one. They just needed somebody.
And you know, I applaud. There are natural managers out there. There's people that can manage processes without any type of training, right? But the majority, like me, I needed guidance. And so, and then I'm a survivor because at the end of the day, I didn't get the training, but I survived. And you survived by, it was a little street smart, right? I identified people that knew more and I figured out, all right, what are you doing that I'm not doing? And that's the way you
I'll never forget my first, I can't remember his last name. His name was Frank. It was my first boss. I was a manager at a movie theater. I was 16 years old. And I'll never forget he came to me and said, hey, do you want this job? You got a supervisor job. Is this something you want? I said, yeah. I mean, I make it to make more money. He said, but what is it? What do you really get out of it? What do you really want out of it? Well, I want to have fun. I want my people to enjoy their job. He's like, well, then that's what you need to spend your time on. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, it's very important when your employees leave and they go home to their significant others or they go home to whoever's at home, their mom and dad, that they say, man, I'm so glad I work for Scott. I'm so glad I work for this movie theater for Scott. I like what I do, and I like working for him. I thought, man, I thought they needed to be my friend. They need to like me, and we need to be buddies. And I was like, no, they just need to wave the Scott flag and enjoy working for me. And I was so young, and I thought, oh my gosh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
They just need to enjoy what they do and enjoy working for me, and I need to coach them and coach the behaviors, manage the processes that we have in place, and own them as a manager and show them that I care.
What a great story.
Yeah.
Love it.
Which brings us to our final segment.
Ooh.
The last 60 or so seconds here. I like to call this the Moises Minute.
Okay.
Moises likes to call this From the Top. So this is the final thoughts from CEO, the man, the myth, the legend, Moises Solis.
I tell you, management is such a complex word because it's definitely not easy, and people find the hard way, right? Once you're in the middle of that process and you don't know how to manage it, again, that's where most people fail, and I feel for them because they didn't get it. But at the end of the day, if I had to surmise this, it's an ongoing thing, right? If you're a manager, you cannot just lay back and think that it's going to happen on its own, right? There's 4 things you got to get to. One is give your people a sense of belonging, right? There's ways to give them a sense of belonging. That could be just giving them a uniform and reminding them that this team that we're in is the best and we're going to be the best and I need you to be at your best. Give them that sense of belonging, right? Knowing the why, obviously. And the second one is let them in on things. Like, where are we going? What are our challenges? And let them in on things is asking them for their opinion, right? If you're a manager, you want to ask them for their opinion. Finally, one of the things that I always say is understand recognition, right? Vitamin R. Understand recognition and how vitamin R works. There are negative and positive consequences, right? Lean on the positive consequence. Most people show up to work to do well and be recognized. They don't show up to work and not do well.
That's
right? It's only because the manager makes them do well. Focus on the right things and give them recognition, vitamin R. And finally, challenge them. You got to challenge people. People want to show up to be challenged. But along the way, if you're going to challenge them, you must already know how to accomplish those first 3 things, right? Sense of belonging, give them, keep them in on things and recognize them. Challenging then works at its best.
Hey, I love it. I love this topic. I had such a good time. I can't wait to do this 100 more times together.
We'll get there.
Thank you guys, everybody out there, for listening or watching. Thank you for choosing the SADE Leadership Academy podcast, powered by CreateINterest, where we train.
You win.
You win.
Yeah. Excellent. See you next time.
Warning. The following podcast is a powerful catalyst for a transformational experience filled with actionable advice, practical guidance, and fresh perspectives. Listening to this podcast may ignite a whirlwind of inspiration, revolutionize your approach to leadership, and empower you to drive meaningful change. Proceed with an open heart and mind, and get ready to unlock your true leadership potential. This program has been rigorously tested and approved by professional learning and development audiences. Side effects may include an unstoppable drive for success, heightened leadership acumen, and the unstoppable momentum to excel as a learner and evolve as a leader. Business owner discretion is advised.